campfire crackled merrily, casting flickering shadows on the faces of my friends huddled around it. We were on our annual camping trip, for college buddies seeking refuge from the monotony of summer into the wild embrace of Blackwood Forest. This year, we'd opted for a more remote location, a secluded clearing nestled deep within the woods. There was Liam, the fearless leader, always up for an adventure. Chloe, the pragmatist, always prepared for anything. Sarah, the artist, with eyes that saw beauty in the most unexpected places. And me, Ethan, the reluctant outdoorsman, easily spooked but forever loyal to the group. Tonight's campfire conversation, fueled by a generous helping of roasted marshmallows and whispered ghost stories, turned towards a local legend. The legend spoke of a network of forgotten caves hidden within the forest, rumored to hold secrets from a bygone era. Intrigued, Liam, ever the explorer, proposed an expedition. "Come on, guys," he said, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "Think of the vlog content. Exploring the forbidden caves of Blackwood Forest. We'd go viral." Chloe, ever the voice of reason, raised an eyebrow. "Those caves are probably caved in and crawling with spiders. Let's not tempt fate." Sarah, however, chimed in with a dreamy smile. "Imagine the ancient paintings. The untouched artifacts. It could be a masterpiece waiting to be discovered." Seeing Sarah's enthusiasm and Liam's unwavering determination, I knew there was no stopping them. With a sigh, I agreed, a knot of unease tightening in my stomach. The next morning, armed with flashlights, headlamps, and a healthy dose of nervous excitement, we set off into the woods. Following a barely discernible trail marked by faded paint on tree trunks, we reached the cave entrance just before dusk. It was a gaping maw in the earth, shrouded in an unsettling chill that seemed to seep straight into our bones. "All right, team," Liam said, his voice echoing in the silence. "Let's do this." The cave entrance was narrow, forcing us to crawl on our hands and knees. The air grew thick and stale, the only sound our own ragged breaths and the dripping of unseen water. After what felt like an eternity, the passage opened into a vast cavern. The scene that greeted us was both awe-inspiring and unsettling. The cavern walls were adorned with strange symbols carved into the rock, swirling patterns that seemed to pulsate with an inner light. Crystalline formations hung from the ceiling like glittering teeth, casting an otherworldly glow on the uneven floor. As we ventured deeper, the air grew colder, and the symbols on the walls became increasingly complex. A sense of oppressive darkness clung to the cavern, sending shivers down my spine. We huddled closer for warmth, the silence broken only by the rhythmic crunch of our boots on the rocky floor. Then, it started. Chloe, usually calm and collected, let out a gasp, her eyes wide with terror. "Did you guys see that?" she stammered, pointing at a nearby wall. We all looked, our hearts hammering in our chests. A section of the wall seemed to shimmer for a moment, depicting a grotesque creature with glowing red eyes and razor-sharp claws. It was the first of many unsettling occurrences. Liam, known for his bravado, swore he heard whispers echoing from the depths of the cave, whispers in a language he couldn't understand. Sarah, her eyes glazed over, claimed to see shadowy figures flitting through the darkness just beyond the reach of our flashlights. As the night wore on, the hallucinations intensified. Each of us was confronted by our deepest fears, projected onto the darkness by the unsettling magic of the cave. For me, it was the monstrous spider from my childhood nightmares, its hairy legs scuttling across the uneven floor. Panic threatened to consume me, but a primal instinct for survival urged me forward. We had to get out of there, before the caves and the darkness claimed us completely. The way back seemed longer, the tunnels more menacing. Fatigue gnawed at our sanity, blurring the line between reality and the terrors conjured by the cave. Suddenly, Sarah screamed, a blood-curdling shriek that echoed through the caverns. We found her huddled in a corner, babbling incoherently, pointing at a dark opening in the wall. A gust of icy wind emanated from the opening, carrying with it the stench of decay, and something, ancient terror ripped through me. We weren't alone in these caves. Something was awake, awakened by our intrusion, and it was far from friendly. We burst out of the cave entrance, gasping for fresh air. The sun, a welcome sight, had already dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues of orange and red. Behind us, the gaping maw of the cave loomed, a silent threat in the gathering darkness. "We need to get back to camp," Chloe said, her voice shaky but resolute. "We can deal with whatever's in there." In the daylight. But the terror of the caves clung to us like a second skin. The whispers still echoed in our minds. The chilling images of our hallucinations burned into our retinas. The once familiar forest seemed alien, the rustling leaves whispering secrets, the shadows harboring unseen horrors. Every creak of a branch, every hoot of an owl sent a jolt of fear through us. We stumbled through the darkness, guided only by the faint glow of our phones. What felt like hours later, we stumbled back into the clearing, collapsing around the dying embers of the campfire. The warmth, however minimal, was a comfort, but the feeling of safety was fleeting. We knew the entity in the caves wouldn't be content to stay there. It had been awakened, and we were its unwitting catalysts. The following day, a heavy silence hung over the camp. Sarah, still shaken, remained withdrawn, sketching frantic images of the creature from the caves. A monstrous being with eyes of molten lava and a body composed of swirling shadows. Liam, his bravado subdued, paced restlessly, formulating a plan we all knew wouldn't be easy. Chloe, ever practical, had managed to get a faint signal on her phone. She contacted a local park ranger, a gruff old man named Jebediah with a twinkle in his eye and a wealth of knowledge about the folklore of the region. Jebediah listened intently to our story, his weathered face creased with a mix of concern and amusement. "Those caves, boys and girls," he said, his voice a low rumble, "they ain't meant for messing around. There's something down there, something old and powerful. They call it the Shadow Weaver, a creature that feeds on fear." A cold dread settled in my stomach. The creature wasn't just a figment of our hallucinations. It was a living entity, thriving on the terror we'd brought into its domain. Jebediah, it turned out, had a plan. He spoke of an ancient ritual, a way to appease the Shadow Weaver, an offering of courage in exchange for safe passage. It was a risky proposition, but it was our only hope. The ritual would take place at dusk, the same time we'd stumbled upon the cave entrance. Jebediah provided the necessary items: herbs with an acrid scent, a crudely carved idol shaped like a grotesque bird creature, and a ceremonial knife. As dusk painted the sky in hues of purple and orange, we stood before the cave entrance, a knot of fear and determination in our hearts. Jebediah chanted in an archaic language, the words echoing eerily in the stillness of the forest. We offered the herbs, their pungent smoke swirling around us, a fragrant offering to the darkness. The air crackled with unseen energy. A cold wind swept through the clearing, extinguishing the dying embers of the campfire. The shadows seemed to writhe and twist, forming grotesque shapes that danced on the edge of our vision. Then, a guttural roar erupted from within the cave, the sound of pure, unadulterated rage. The ground trembled, and a wave of icy fear threatened to consume me. But we held our ground, our voices joining Jebediah's in the ancient chant, a desperate plea for mercy. The tension stretched, moments that felt like an eternity. Finally, a chilling silence descended upon the clearing. Slowly, the shadows retreated, the air grew still. We were left blinking in the fading light, unsure if the ritual had worked or if the silence was merely the calm before another storm. With trembling hands, we packed up our camp, a sense of unease clinging to us like a shroud. We left the Blackwood forest behind, the whispers of the caves a faint echo in our memories. Did we truly appease the Shadow Weaver, or had we merely sealed a temporary truce? We would never know for sure. But one thing was certain, the experience had changed us. The carefree days of our annual camping trips were over, replaced by a newfound respect for the unseen forces that lurked in the wild places of the world. We returned to civilization, forever bound by the shared terror of the caves and the chilling secret we now carried. The legend of the Shadow Weaver would remain etched in our memories, a constant reminder of the fragility of our sanity and the lurking darkness just beyond the veil of normality. However, the story doesn't end there. Back in the safety of our dorms, a nagging unease gnawed at me. The silence we encountered after the ritual felt too easy. Days bled into weeks, and a sense of normalcy started to return. Sarah, with the help of a therapist, began to manage the trauma. Liam, ever the optimist, convinced himself it was all a hallucination fueled by cave gases. Chloe, pragmatic as ever, focused on burying the experience deep within the recesses of her mind. But for me, the whispers lingered. They weren't the chilling pronouncements of the cave. but something subtler, a feeling of being watched. At night, I'd wake up from dreams filled with swirling shadows and the echo of the Shadow Weaver's guttural roar. In the library, amidst the stacks of forgotten books, a sudden chill would send shivers down my spine. Walking alone at night, a flickering streetlight would cast grotesque shadows that seemed to writhe and distort. Then, one uneventful Tuesday afternoon, while scrolling through social media, I saw it. A new video trending on a local news channel. Hikers report strange symbols deep within Blackwood Forest. The thumbnail image showed a grainy picture of a group of disoriented hikers, their faces pale with fear, standing before a cavern entrance marked with the same swirling symbols we'd encountered in the caves. Panic surged through me. The ritual hadn't worked. The Shadow Weaver was free, and it was hungry. Driven by a desperate need to warn the hikers, I reached out to the news channel, leaving a frantic message detailing our encounter and the danger they faced. The response was underwhelming. They politely thanked me for my contribution, but dismissed my story as an elaborate prank concocted by college students. Frustration gnawed at me, but I couldn't give up. The fate of those hikers, and perhaps the safety of the entire town bordering the forest, rested on my shoulders. I needed to convince someone, anyone, to take the threat seriously. Desperate, I turned to Sarah. She was the most receptive to our experience, and perhaps, through her artistic talent, she could convey the horror in a way words couldn't. Together, we pored over our memories, translating the chilling whispers and grotesque images of the Shadow Weaver into Sarah's art. The result was a series of disturbing paintings, swirling shadows, glowing eyes, and the monstrous form of the creature itself, reaching out from the darkness with razor-sharp claws. We presented the paintings to Jebediah, the park ranger, his weathered face contorted with a mix of shock and grim understanding. He confirmed our fears. The ritual hadn't been enough. The Shadow Weaver, weakened but not defeated, had bided its time, waiting for a new opportunity to feast on fear. Jebediah, however, wasn't one to give up easily. He revealed a hidden knowledge passed down through generations of rangers, a hidden chamber within the caves, rumored to contain an artifact capable of banishing the Shadow Weaver for good. But retrieving it wouldn't be easy. It would require venturing back into the heart of darkness, facing the creature on its own turf. The decision weighed heavily on me. Part of me craved the safety of normalcy, to return to a life devoid of whispers and shadows. But the other part, the burgeoning courage fueled by fear, couldn't ignore the potential catastrophe unfolding at the edge of the forest. As I looked at Sarah, her eyes reflecting a newfound determination, and at Liam and Chloe, their initial resistance giving way to a sense of shared responsibility, I knew what I had to do. We may have stumbled upon the darkness unintentionally, but now, we had a choice. Succumb to fear or confront it head-on, with Jebediah as our guide and Sarah's disturbing paintings serving as a constant reminder of the threat. We embarked on a new journey, one that would lead us back into the heart of the Blackwood Forest, not as scared college kids, but as unlikely heroes, armed with courage, desperation, and a single flickering hope of banishing the Shadow Weaver and reclaiming the balance between the world of light and the encroaching darkness. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about facing our fears and protecting the world from a chilling entity that thrived on terror. The true test of our courage was about to begin.